All right, traders, welcome to today's recap. This is Christian Farmer. It's Tribeca Trade Group, and it is about 5:30 on the 18th. So midweek we've got, and this video I'm shooting from home, so it's going to be a little bit different because I just don't have all the systems here. So a little bit different video, and I wanted to specifically talk about a theme that I'm seeing play out in the market. And we'll talk about a little bit of just today's trades and so forth, as I usually do. But really interesting that one chart that I found, I was talking to somebody who really knows their bonds very well. And so I figured I'll just shoot a quick video and we'll kind of talk about what's going on here a little bit. So this is a chart, and I'll walk you through this. This is the TIP ETF, which is Treasury Inflation Protected Securities. So it's something that you want on. It's more of kind of an inflation play. Now, when you're looking at this chart, what I think is necessary to do is to put this on top of treasuries, right? And it's kind of a spread that you want to monitor. So not necessarily something that you may want to trade outright unless you're a bond specialist and you can trade the spread. But you want to compare basically treasury inflation protected securities over regular treasuries, and that will tell you basically it will show you if what I think is if there's any inflation that's starting to percolate in the system. And notice the way that I did this was TIP, which is, now you could do this with the straight bonds as well, but I just figured I'd match this up with the ETFs. So I'm using the TIP ETF, and I'm using IEF, which is 7 to 10 year bonds. The reason why I'm using that instead of TLT is I'm duration matching those, right? So you want to make sure that when you're comparing bonds, that you're actually duration adjusting them, right? You don't want to look at something, compare something, unless you're like, making a case for like the yield curve, and you're comparing different maturities. This I want to compare. Make sure I've got apples and apples, right? Not apples to oranges in terms of the maturity. So you could see, so what is this telling us? All right, so this is a 2 year chart, and we can actually look at this over 5 years just so you get the full picture. But it looks like inflation is starting to tick up. And it's back above the 200-day moving average. Now, this is where it was again. If you look back last year, it's not at a high level. It's basically just coming off. It's coming pretty hard off the lows. So it's something that we'll keep an eye on. But it just kind of tells me as well that there's some ways to kind of play some things that could move up with inflation possibly moving up. And again, remember it's coming off the lows, right? This is where it was all the way in 2016. It kind of topped out here in mid 2018, and we're moving back, right? We're moving back up. So the other thing, and sometimes I really like to kind of pull information from different places. There was an interview with Stanley Druckenmiller on Bloomberg today. And, of course, when he does something, right, I've debated before whether or not I want to be following hedge funds because 80% of them cannot beat the S&P over time. But this is one guy that I tend to follow, right? I tend to follow what he does. He's extremely savvy. Stanley Druckenmiller, if you're not familiar with him, one of the most famous investors out there. So his bets long U.S. Japanese stocks. He's short treasuries, right, which is kind of goes into that theme, and the yen. Now he also mentioned as well, and I don't have it. This is kind of in piecemeal, the way that they put this article out. But he's also he said that he also got long copper. Now I don't. Sorry, I don't. I thought I had the article up, but looks like I don't. Now I don't know if he's still long copper, but kind of makes sense to what we're seeing. So let's go ahead and look at a copper chart, right? Because it kind of fits the theme. If inflation is going to possibly maybe ticking higher, let's take a look at what copper is doing, right? So that we know copper had this big move, about 2 weeks ago and is now above the 200-day moving average. Notice what it's doing here. It's putting in a little bull flag. So it's not giving it back. So I'm kind of thinking, and notice, of course, our indicator is doing a great job. Look at where the consolidation is, right at one of our pivot points, right? So, and then we also have a virgin point of control much higher. So I'm kind of looking to see if this can consolidate a little bit more and actually put in a flag and then possibly move back out. So that's what's got that is what has me really interested, if I can speak. Uh, and I think from the option activity that we've been seeing, right? So then you begin to kind of connect the dots of what we're seeing in option activity. Um, Obviously FCX has been the name that's been most hit over the last couple months. So keep in mind, like this has already made a very decent move, and the option activity worked really well. But now it's like, okay, well, what's going to happen next? So this is also putting in a bull flag, very similar to copper. SCCO is another name that, and by the way, so I was long FCX for a long time. I took profits in it. I went back in today. So again, I always tell you what I'm up to in terms of trades, but this is another one, SCCO. It doesn't, for whatever reason, just doesn't see a lot of option activity, but this is also moving the right way. BHP was a name that's a little bit more diverse than just copper. It's a miner, but also does a lot with steel. Uh, this was a real nice play as well. This was a swing trade that I put on. I'm not in this one anymore. I took profits. It got very close to this virgin point of control, which is where I wanted to take profits, and I took it off. So I think it would be pretty cool if these names do go ahead and consolidate. Another name, this one actually saw option activity today, is Vale. Now so again, maybe not just specific to copper, but all commodities. And I think kind of it's an interesting way if you're thinking about possibly reflation and what's going on. This could be a really interesting area to position in. And there's a handful of stocks that, such as this one, Vale, that saw calls today. A lot of January, a lot of small calls going out here. Repeat like small stuff. I need to check open interest on these, but I'm pretty sure there's January and March were the two ones. The March was definitely opening. The March I don't know if they were adding to, but it looks like it was hit pretty hard today. All right, and then so I think that's why I put on this trade in FCX today, and I'll be looking for more opportunities. I did not put on the Valley because I was over at Bloomberg this afternoon, shooting a quick piece on the overall market as well as my trade ID in PayPal. So very light trading for me. I was a little bit under the weather this morning. I was not feeling well, but I did take off the remaining of my Amazon spread. Right, we talked about that in yesterday's video. How I took target number one. Well, I took the rest of that off for more than a double. Also, EPD was a trade that I put on yesterday. We're starting to see as well, you can kind of make the case at this point. Again, sometimes I would rather be a little bit late with this stuff, but we do see XOP now above the value area. And we've continued to see a lot of MLPs, which we talked about in yesterday's video, getting hit with option activity. Another one that saw a little bit of call activity today too was Devon Energy. That did take a VPOC out, but I think if you just kind of pay attention to the tape as we do in the trading room, you're going to see where the action is going. All right, so that's it for today's video. Have a great night, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. But again, it gets me really excited when we see just another group that could be very interesting. I also remain long XME, the metals and mining ETF, which I got long a couple weeks back. All right, guys, have a great night. See you tomorrow.